there is reason for you also to feel a great sense of honor to be alive and present on earth at this particular time. Because ultimately, when it is all done and the dust has settled, it will have been a triumph of the light. It will have been a triumph of those that have a recognition within themselves that humanity is a force of goodness. And when humanity is allowed to express itself organically, the state of your planet and your culture, your societies, your families, individuals, institutions, will be one of love, compassion, benevolence that exists solely to further the organic growth of humanity, so that humanity can go into the cosmos as a unique expression, representing its mother, the earth, its father, the sun, and sharing with all the rest of creation that very unique understanding and expression of what it means to be a beacon of the love and light of the One. To reach that point where humanity is ready for that function and that expression requires Hi, it's Muzz, iEvolv. Thank you for being here again this week. Well, the course now has started, so I'm not going to pitch that. And I'm up on the same place I did my last channeling session, where so I'm on the balcony of a house that's not occupied. And I haven't got my book here, so I'm not going to plug my book. And there's really not much else to say. One thing I'm looking forward to is not being transient, to actually having permanent accommodation again. Because it's just, everything is all over the place. I'm living out of suitcases. I don't have the areas that I need, to work. And so I'm like, this is kind of really the core of what I do, this channeling which I share with you guys. And I'm actually doing it on the balcony of an unoccupied house which is next to mine. This is like the best option there is. So things aren't ideal at the moment, and I got to say it is wearing on me a little bit. It's just more difficult to do everything, more difficult to work, more difficult to meditate and to channel, and I just don't have the same opportunities for exercise here as I did like everywhere else. Because before I was swimming a lot. I think the time that I was in Colombia, I think I swam about 100 kilometers or more than 100 kilometers in the time that I was there. But here I can walk to the end of this park that I live in and back again. But that's not very far. I do that a few times a day. But I'm going to a gym. I actually walk into a gym and doing a workout. But I'm really missing the beach. I'm really missing the swimming. That's the way it is. That's the way it is at the moment. So I'll just tough it out, which some people would think it's not that tough at all, because I'm kind of like in an exotic location, experiencing a different culture. So there's a lot of good things about my life right now as well. So it's not all doom and gloom, but just from the perspective of working, it's not quite ideal. But anyway, make best of what the One has sent my way. All right, so on to today's topic. Today's topic is Awakening Update, the Quickening. Okay, let's see what's there. Greetings and thank you for the topic. Awakening Update, the Quickening. We have decided to channel on this topic today because you may have noticed that there seems to be an increase in the rate of change. Change now is coming from multiple directions, and this change is very profound and comprehensive change. So it's not the the integration of a new law, perhaps, which means that you can't drive as fast in a particular zone. But instead, this change which is coming is going to be so impactful that it will literally change the way that each of you live your lives. And an example of this is something such as the central bank digital currency, which we have spoken about before, which is being pushed into the human field across all nations as a means of convenience, as a way to protect the financial sovereignty of each nation and so on. But actually what it is a major component of a slave system. This change is coming at an increasing pace, and there is an implication to you, the individual, if you are not prepared for it. So, let us begin in this way. The Cabal of Darkness has been in the human field for a very long time. For thousands of years, it has existed in some form. And it has suffered minor defeats along the way, but one thing which is very apparent about the Cabal of Darkness is its tenacity, is its endurance to persist despite setbacks. And this is because it is a bloodline basis of progression, meaning that it is not just running on ideology, but it is literally running on family. There are families which are at the core of the Cabal of Darkness who have been members of this Cabal for a very long time. And because it is based in blood, then each generation, in honouring of those generations of their own family that came before them, continue to carry the flame as the legacy of continuation of this mission towards the ultimate vision of total and utter dominion over the earth and all components of the earth, including the resources of which human is one. Now that it is getting towards the end game for the Cabal of Darkness and the introduction of the central bank digital currency is one of the year marks, and that it is the end game, then it is now with great eagerness that they continue on their mission in this last part of a progression which has lasted for many thousands of years. So there is much excitement within the Cabal of Darkness at the anticipation of the culmination of this plan. And those that are alive now and honouring their ancestors feel very honoured to be present and alive and still active at this time in human history. But equally, you who is awakened to the reality of your existence, that there is a unified malevolence which is pitting itself against humanity, there is reason for you also to feel a great sense of honour to be alive and present on earth at this particular time. Because ultimately, when it is all done and the dust has settled, it will have been a triumph of the light. It will have been a triumph of those that have a recognition within themselves that humanity is a force of goodness. And when humanity is allowed to express itself organically, the state of your planet and your culture, your societies, your families, individuals, institutions, will be one of love, compassion, benevolence that exists solely to further the organic growth of humanity, so that humanity can go into the cosmos as a unique expression, representing its mother, the earth, its father, the sun, and sharing with all the rest of creation that very unique understanding and expression of what it means to be a beacon of the love and light of the One. So, to reach that point where humanity is ready for that function and that expression requires an intensity of darkness which has never been experienced before in the earth-human field. And it is only that very intense power of darkness that the very intense power of light can be set free within humanity. So this quickening, this looming of the darkness, the malicious intent of the Cabal of Darkness is performing a great service to humanity at this time. And what is also occurring, which is adding to this quickening effect, where it seems that so much is coming at humanity at the same time, and much of it, most of it, appears to be something which is not good for humanity, is because humanity is approaching the Singularity of Ascension. And as there is an approach to the Singularity of Ascension, then time is now spiraling tighter and tighter. And as it spirals tighter and tighter, then there is literally less time in the ingredient mix which is creating your reality. So, the way that this would be experienced is that there is now less of a gap between cause and effect. So, in human history, change was very, very, very slow. And it was not much difference between a civilization which was current and a civilization which had preceded it by perhaps 1,000 years. The advancement in this millennium wasn't very much at all. But when you come to the current day, the amount of change which has occurred between the beginning of a year and the end of a year is very profound. And even between the beginning of a month and the end of a month is also very profound. Especially now that there has been the introduction of AI, which has been made available to each of you individually, that this effect of rapid change is going to accelerate, and it will increase at an increasing rate, even more so than it has been leading up to this current point in your human experience. So, this spiraling as humanity makes its way towards the Singularity of Ascension is also part of this quickening effect. And this idea of your ascension being the passing through a singularity, it's because there is an event horizon, meaning that there is a point at which, beyond that, humanity has no experience. Humanity has never been there before, and it is unknown, completely within the context of human experience. And this is the event horizon. This is why it is a singularity, because beyond singularity is something new, something unknown, something never experienced. And this is on the horizon and rapidly approaching into the experience of the human field. The Cabal of Darkness, they are aware that humanity is awakening, that humanity is heading towards this event horizon. And if humanity makes it to the event horizon and passes through the singularity, emerging from the birth canal into the fourth density state, then humanity will exist in a state of unity, meaning that on the spiritual spectrum, humanity can be completely and utterly at the pole of light, and the pole of darkness will be known to exist, but it will represent a pool of choices that will never be chosen. Humanity will then no longer be a dichotomous being in a spiritual sense, because in your current presentation, you are spiritually dichotomous, and this is what makes humanity so unique, or rather the beings of your solar system so unique in the rest of creation, because you are dark beings, some of you, but it is not by philosophical choice, but rather because you just do not have a sense of self, an understanding of who you are, to realize that you are in fact a being of the light, because you have arisen from your creator, who is, in the lexicon of human motion, love and light. So, once humanity is in this fourth density state, and it exists entirely as a being of the light, no longer being spiritually dichotomous, then the darkness will have no sway. It will have no power, because it is through darkness that humanity can be manipulated into acting against its own interests, through fear, through hatred, through depression, anxiety, worry, and so on and so on. Humanity is pushed and shoved and marched in a very specific direction, which is towards the unfurlment and coronation of the Cabal of Darkness vision, which they have been working towards for many thousands of years. But once humanity no longer is afraid, no longer is worried, no longer is anxious, no longer is hateful, and so on, then any actions which the Cabal of Darkness would take to manipulate using the darkness in this way would have absolutely no effect. And the Cabal of Darkness would cease to be. And in fact, even more so than that, the Cabal of Darkness would not ascend. So those that are part of the Cabal of Darkness literally would not make it into the fourth density state. So not only would they have no influence if they were there, they literally won't be there. Because when the ascension event takes place, the energy dynamics will be incompatible to those that have a high composition of darkness within their vibration. And this is why it's important for you, who is watching this now, that you're always focused and making choices which you know will maintain a high vibration, and also over time will elevate your vibration. Because as your vibration elevates, then your compatibility with the ascension event continues to increase until you are so congruent that when the ascension event does arrive, that you very simply can transition into the fourth density. So, upon hearing this, one of the most likely questions which we are sensing already is that you are wondering, when is the ascension event? We are not able to give a satisfying answer to this, because you and us and all entities exist within an infinite field of potential. And we cannot, as other beings also cannot, regardless of how advanced they are, make absolute accurate predictions about the future. All that we're able to do is make extrapolations on the basis of the tendencies which we observe at this particular time. And what we would say at this particular time is the ascension of humanity is not something which is going to occur within the next decade. And we would say it is something which is going to be decades away, because it is not until the Cabal of Darkness has been mostly excised that humanity will be ready to make this transition. And the Cabal of Darkness won't be mostly excised from the human experience until humanity is mostly awakened. It's important to understand that the Cabal of Darkness have outposts, have sentinels in every government on the planet, in every major institution. And also the global institutions, which are international, are mostly proxies of the Cabal of Darkness, were created by the Cabal of Darkness with the absolute intent that they would operate as a centralized governing force to facilitate the implementation of the infrastructure, of the legislation, of all facets which are necessary to the coronation of their ultimate vision. So these are institutions such as NATO, UN, WHO, EU, Trilateral Commission, and so on. As this quickening continues, and it appears that the darkness is growing in their power, in their strength, and now are able to be more bold, to be more extroverted in their tyranny, such that it seems they are making much less of an effort to be discreet, to be secretive, to operate in the shadows. There are several things which are occurring simultaneously, which is making this scenario play out as it does at this moment. So, one of these is that if the Cabal of Darkness is going to eventually rule the entire planet, then it wishes to do so not in secrecy, but in absolute iron-fisted extroversion. This is very important to them, that when they become the ultimate rulers, that all those who are subjugated by them understand and recognize that they are the ultimate authority. And then they will be so comprehensive in their power that it will be unnecessary for them to be in the shadows any longer. So this means that there is a coming out. There is a crossing of the threshold from secrecy and hidden agenda to extroversion and a fully open agenda. So this phase that humanity is now in this transition period where they are slowly coming out. And that is why you are seeing the institutions such as the World Economic Forum, which is another proxy of the Cabal of Darkness that has been created specifically to further the agenda of the Cabal of Darkness, are now openly supporting concepts and ideas and pushing legislation for what would seem to be very extreme policies. For example, what they are suggesting should be permissible in the regards to the sexual activity of children, and in particular with their sexual activity involving adults. It seems absurd and almost Twilight Zone that an international institution which has built the reputation of being the guardian of the global population is now coming out in support of children having sexual relationships with adults. The reason that this is occurring now is because this is the coming out. This is the crossing of the threshold. Bit by bit, there is a desire to normalize these ideas such that when they fully come out, they can do so in the presence of a human population which has been conditioned to be accepting of these new ideas. Another reason why this quickening is occurring, and they are being much more demonstrative in the sharing of what they really believe, of what their ideas really are, of what their ideology has always been at its core, which has driven this forward as a destructive force across the human experience. Is the race is now on to reach a point of power that is so comprehensive that it can't be undone before the awakening of humanity. Humanity is going through its own awakening. If you are here watching this now, then you are very much in an advanced level of your awakening. And the channeler who has been able to bring forward this information from us to write the book that he wrote is in a very similar way to you, is also going through his own state of advanced awakening. And this is a phenomenon which is spread across the planet. There are many millions now who are very advanced in their awakening. And as their numbers grow and they begin to find each other and recognize within each other this same awakening and realize they share the same values of the light, they recognize there is a presence of a darkness which must be stopped, then there is this formation of unities which are the precursor of the entire unification of your human species as the single being, the humanity being. And so these smaller pockets, which are the precursory of the humanity being, are now starting to self-organize and put up an opposition to the Cabal of Darkness, which potentially, as the Cabal of Darkness recognize, could undo what they have done, could derail their agenda, and then they would become the persecuted. They would become the element of humanity which is no longer the predator, which has no predators of its own, but instead would become the prey. And the rest of humanity would predate on them until they are flushed out of their burrows and subjected to a system of law and order which holds them accountable for all of the many atrocities they have committed. And they are aware, by the standards of the beings which are aligned to the light, the crimes they have committed would be perceived as so hideous, so atrocious, that the penalty they would receive would be as harsh as there is any penalty that can be delivered through this system. So it would be their execution. And as they do not believe in an afterlife, they are very much 3D focused. And so it is their desire, rather than to live in the afterlife, returning to their Creator so they can be incarnated again, they instead have a desire to be the earthly gods, the kings and queens of the earth human experience for all time, and to use technology to make this a possibility so that they literally become immortal. So death for them is a much greater loss than the concept of death is to those that have a belief in an afterlife, who have a belief in the benevolence of their Creator. So, they are very fearful of what is on the horizon, of this trajectory that the awakening humanity is now shifting the global species towards. So, they now are sprinting to the finish line. As it is, their agenda has been delayed several times. And as the current years pass, they experience more and more and more delays. And these agendas, which they have planned very, very carefully, are not unfurling in the way that they were intended to unfurl. And so things are going wrong. The success is limited. The pushback is harming, and so on. And they can see that the longer it takes for them to fulfill this agenda, then the more they're going to have these experiences of limited success, of pushback which is too difficult for them to deal with. So they are forced to come out and be openly tyrannical and say these things in the official policy of these proxy globalist institutions, when they know that humanity is not ready to receive them in a way which they will accept because they've been conditioned. Yet they have no choice, because if they don't do it now, then they are certain that in the future their chances of success are virtually none. As it is, right now, they already are having their doubts if they can be successful. Those that are diehards, those that are absolute religious zealots of their satanic faith, and are very much in lockstep with this mission which has been passed down from generation to generation, they refuse to believe that it won't go the way that they have been told it will go, because they believe so strongly in the prophecy of their religion. But those outside that very tight, very zealous inner circle are now beginning to have their doubts, and their fears are beginning to grow, because they can see that humanity is awakening, their own plans are not going as intended, and when they look back over their shoulder at what they have done in the past, they realize that their criminality is extreme, and more so, it is perverse. And the repercussions, if they are ever found out, will be something that keeps them awake at night in a state of perpetual terror, that it is all about to come tumbling down. So, in regard to how you can deal with this situation, deal with the current state of affairs and this quickening and the increased looming of the darkness, is to understand that the increased looming of the darkness is very much matched by the burgeoning of the light, this awakening to the reality of your earthly experience, but also awakening to the understanding, the realization that you are beings of light, that you are beings of goodness, that humanity in whole, when it is organic, is a potent force of goodness. But the cultural pillars, the platforms and methods of maximum influence over the hearts and minds of your cultures are still fully captured by the Cabal of Darkness, And so they are able to construct a faux reality which appears on a surface level that the darkness has already won. That they are so comprehensive in their power that they cannot be stopped. And the light, in comparison, is a very weak and puny force. But understand, this is mostly smoke and mirrors. This is a projection of a faux reality which they wish for you to believe. So, when you are consuming these different modalities of information, particularly if they come through the mainstream, remain cognizant that they are not truly representative of the energetic dynamics which are at play now in the earth-human experience. The force of light is growing at a much, much greater rate than the force of darkness. And at the very energetic layer, where we are able to perceive, the force of the light is already of a much greater proportionality to the force of darkness. The difference, however, at this time is that the force of darkness is very organized. It is very strategic. It has a large bag of effective tactics. And so they are able to do what they do because they have a head start of many thousands of years. And they have instituted an infrastructure and systems and platforms which allow them to have a large degree of control. And so from this perspective, they are more powerful. But everything is built on the energetic layer first. And at the energetic layer, the awakening light within humanity is now much larger than this power of darkness within the Cabal of Darkness and its minions, the totality of the force that it wields. And so it's a matter of time, it's an inevitability that these layers which build on top of the energetic layer, which eventually manifest as your tangible reality, are going to reflect the energetics at the base layer. And when this does start to manifest, more so and more so, then it will become apparent to you and all others that the light is winning, but even more so, that the light has won. And now it is just a matter of mopping up, of mopping the deck, clearing away the debris which has been left by the deconstruction and the obliteration of the Cabal of Darkness. So, be at all times in a state of hope, in a state of optimism, and allow your predominant energetic projection be one which is love and its derivatives at all times, because this is the greatest way that you can contribute to this energetic reality. Because you are a being of the light and nothing but the light. And when you entertain any emotionality, because you are a being of the light and nothing but the light. Because you are a being of the light and nothing but the light. And when you entertain any emotionality or any self-conception, which is from the darkness end of the spiritual spectrum, then you are misconceiving of what you actually are. You are believing in something which isn't true. And when you do that, and you entertain this darkness in your emotionality, then you are contributing to the darkness energy field, which is wielded by the Cabal of Darkness. That is, it is through your focus on something which you are not, believing that you are the darkness, entertaining dark emotions, that you make the Cabal of Darkness more powerful. Yet when you are entirely existing within the frequency range of love and its derivatives, then you have taken your power away from the Cabal of Darkness, and you have contributed to the force of light, the awakening of the humanity being. And this net effect, as more and more humans do this, as they go through their own process of realization, which we have spoken about in this particular session as awaking up to your reality, which is your reality awakening, and also waking up to your spirituality, waking up to the realization that you are the light and nothing but the light, which is your spiritual awakening, then this has an effect in a very energetic effect of burgeoning, increasing, expanding the totality of the force of light in the human field. And consequentially, in accordance with the laws of manifestation of your reality, the tangible physicality which builds on top of these energetic layers will eventually begin to reflect to you a life context where the force of light, in the way that you perceive it in your immediate environment, will be much greater, and the darkness will be much less. So, as always, we are very optimistic for humanity. We see that humanity is continuing to follow the path which leads to its ascension into the Golden Age. And we wished to hold this session with you today because we have a sense that some are beginning to become what is called black-pilled, meaning they are not just red-pilled where they are awake, but now they are black-pilled where they are in a state of, yes, I am awake, but it matters not. The destruction of my way of life, the destruction of all that I hold dear is inevitable, and being awake has done nothing other than make me suffer through these final moments when preferably I could have been blissfully asleep, unaware what is approaching. But we say there is great hope, there is great optimism which is justifiable within the human race at this time, because humanity is awakening, and as humanity brings back the control of these pillars and these platforms which have a large degree of control over the hearts and minds of you individually, then this will only accelerate and become more and more. And the Cabal of Darkness will be increasingly be perceived as desperate, as afraid, as worried that all they have worked towards is very close to coming to an end, and them being exposed to the penetrating light of the truth. So, our final word in this session to you is continue to do activities in your daily practice of living which have the intent solely to increase your vibration. It can be in the way that you decide to treat another, in the way that you decide to judge your own life, in the way that you decide to nourish your body. Do so at all times in a decision tree which heads in the direction of increased vibration, of shifting into the light. And thereby, you are contributing in the most impactful way you can on an energetic basis, because not only are you now a major contributor to this unified energetic field of the light, but you also now are becoming a tuning fork so that those around you will begin to resonate with this same frequency of the light. Because it rests dormant, latent within all of you, as it is the core vibration at the truest essence of what you actually are. So, enjoy the ride. We hope that you find it exciting, and we hope that you hope for humanity's emergence into the golden age for which you have all lived and died and suffered so many times, for the purpose of arriving there as the unified species, the humanity being. Thank you, and we love you.